Today you're coming with me to 4 different birding spots in what I think is one of the best areas around Brisbane to go birding. I did have an unusually disorganised morning of birding, but I still saw 49 different species of birds across the 4 different locations. So let's go. Good morning. This morning we're at one of my favourite places to go birding in Brisbane. I think this might be the best area to go birding in Brisbane. It's got the highest concentration of excellent birding spots of anywhere in Brisbane that I've been able to find. We're at Wynnum Mangrove Boardwalk. This is the area where we're going birding today, starting here at Wynnum Mangrove Boardwalk. This is a really wonderful spot for birding. It's so beautiful. It's actually not only one of my favourite birding spots in Brisbane, but just one of my favourite spots in general. It's just so beautiful here. Look. Amazing. Look at all those cool trees. Ever since I started documenting my birding, I started to see a pattern of the places that I love to come birding. I love mangroves, which is so funny because I grew up in a house that backed onto some mangroves and I always thought that they were really smelly and gross. But after I started birding, I think I just developed a new appreciation for them and all of the life that they sustain and just how beautiful they are. One of the birds that you will pretty much definitely hear if you come here is the mangrove dorigini. They're very common in this area. You'll probably hear their haunting, beautiful song. You might not see them, they're a bit hard to spot. They're tiny little birds, but you'll definitely hear them. This boardwalk is part of a loop that also goes out to Lytton Wader Roost, which is a really great spot. We'll go have a look there shortly. Low tide was at 3 a.m. this morning and high tide is about 8:30, I think. I'm here just after 6, so not ideal timing. The problem with this walk is that the paths can go underwater at high tide. I've been here before when that's happened, which makes it kind of cool, but not ideal for walking. I'm literally running to the end of the boardwalk because I can see a group of black swans and I'm gonna miss them if I'm not fast. This scene was just too stunning to not run for. The pink sunrise, the calm water, the group of swans just serenely making their way behind the mangroves. It was really special. We'll see lots more black swans at one of our next spots. At the end of the boardwalk is this beautiful viewing platform that looks out over the water. Somehow my camera is out of battery. I always charge it after I use it. So I'm just going back to the car quickly and then I'll resume the bird walk. Spare batteries to the rescue. I've never used them, so I hope they work. That could have been a very disappointing bird walk and video. Now back to the Mangrove Boardwalk and we'll do the full loop this time. I was just filming my #1 favorite bird, the Silvereye. Oh, it was so beautiful. My camera died, of course, so time to change the battery. Moment of truth. Does it work? Yay! That's awesome. I probably should have tested it first. Someone on the path just told me that there's a kingfisher up here, so let's go see if we can find it. This spangled drongo was a bit agitated. It seemed like it was having a disagreement with a rufous fantail and a golden whistler. If you've watched some of my videos, you might know what that call is. I can't see it yet though. I spent about 10 minutes here looking for the pardalote, but I only spotted it very quickly as it flew over the boardwalk. Go check out my Combacho Sanctuary video if you'd like to see one up close. We're back at the end of the boardwalk. So when you get to this point, you can either turn right and go down to the lookout, or you can turn left and continue the walk. Hopefully it is not underwater yet. I have spent a bit too long here. As usual, I was having too much fun in my first spot. Okay, I may have stopped by the lookout one more time before I kept going. It's just so pretty here. I've just seen some lorikeets fly by. No kingfisher yet. Okay, let's keep going. This is the section of the loop that's been underwater when I've been there before. It was high tide at this point, so maybe it just depends. I just saw the coolest thing. I was on the path and I could hear this noise, but I wasn't sure what it was. I was determined to figure out what it was. So I was just looking around and then all of a sudden I saw a lorikeet poking its head out of a hollow. Brown honeyeater. Brown honeyeaters are very common around Brisbane. Over my birdwatching journey, they have been one of the birds that has confused me the most because they have a huge range of calls. I think I'm starting to learn their calls now so I don't get tricked as much. Found the kingfisher. In the background of these clips, you might be able to hear those brown honeyeater calls, but also the song of the mangroves rugini, which I mentioned earlier in the video. Plus, of course, lots of other bird calls, like lorikeets, magpies, and Lewin's honeyeaters. Look at that little wing. I've just spent some time with that gorgeous kingfisher. Oh, such beautiful colours. This is the point where I'm going to switch eBird checklists. So I'm going to stop my checklist for the Wynnum Mangrove Boardwalk and start it for the Lytton Wader Roost.
And this is where our second spot for the day is. These are two birds that I always used to get confused by before I started birding. The magpie is obviously a lot bigger than the magpie lark.
I find this to be a really striking spot to take photos of birds because of the landscape, how beautiful all of the stumps poking out of the water are. I just had a whole flock of rainbow bee eaters pass over me. It was beautiful. No photos or videos unfortunately, but it was just amazing. I have spotted brown quails here before running across the path. They are very tricky to spot because they're so shy, but there are some here. They like the tall grass. Can you hear that call? That one.
This is my second favourite bird after the silvereye. It's a golden-headed Cisticola, which is maybe not how you would expect the name to be pronounced when you read it. They have the best calls. I always just think they sound like they're screaming.
There is a bird hide down here. I have to be honest, it's not my favourite. I don't know if I've ever seen anything from this bird hide, but it is here, which is cool. There are so many little brown Jurogonese and welcome swallows flying around me right now. It's so cool. Hopefully we'll have a chance to go to my favourite bird hide in Brisbane soon. LOTS, how you done? Just nothing really. Welcome swallows, honey eaters, a couple of teals down on the water. Maybe it's a skill issue.
It's definitely a skill issue. On the same day I was here, some really cool birds were reported in this exact spot. So there you go. This is a much better view of the mangrove Jurogonese than before. They were a bit easier to see around the bird hide because the trees are a bit closer.
I've just finished off at the bird hide and I'm heading back to the car park via the end of the loop. But as I said, this is one of the best areas for bird watching in my opinion. So we're gonna head on to the next spot. I'm excited. I'm always so tempted at this point to just turn left and head back onto the boardwalk, but no, let's keep going. All right, here we are. About a 10 or so minute drive from Wynnum Mangrove Boardwalk is Port of Brisbane, which is a great birding spot. First, we're stopping at Port of Brisbane Park, also called Swan Lake. Let's see what we can find.
I imagine this is why it's called Swan Lake. There were lots of swans here, as you'll see in just a second. At Swan Lake, obviously there are always lots of birds on the water, but there are also two main areas where they hang out on land. This spot, which is closer to the car park, and then down a ways, which we'll have a look at. We have black swans, a little black cormorant, I think maybe an egret, some Australasian swamp hens, Eurasian coots, dusky moorhens, Pacific black ducks, some chestnut teals, and of course some Australian white ibises.
Check out the welcome swallows. Unfortunately, because we're at a working port, it can be kind of noisy. I've just seen a hardhead. They are so cool. Those eyes. Oh. I think this is actually the first place that I ever saw a grebe, Australasian grebe, and I was so into bird watching that I thought it was one of the cygnets, like a swan's baby, because they're so tiny and cute.
These chestnut teals are the females. And this is the male.
Yay! There's spoonbills here. I haven't seen spoonbills in forever. Alright. I don't know what it is about spoonbills. I just think they are so cool. I'm right at the end of the path now. I've walked down the length of the lake, or as far as you can go. That's where I normally spot the spoonbills, right at the end there. Obviously the water birds are the star of the show here, but there's also all of these trees along the path that are really great for finding little birds like fairy wrens or honey eaters or silver eyes even. So have a look in there if you come here. Just looking in said trees now. It's gotten a bit windy all of a sudden. I know they're in here. I just can't. I'm not fast enough.
Can you see the fairy wren hiding right at the back there? I thought this might be the best fairy wren footage I was going to get all day, but luckily there was some at my next spot.
I think I'm finished at the park now, so I'm going to move on to another spot just down the road. It can be hit or miss. Sometimes it's closed and you are supposed to call before you go so that they can open it for you. But let's go have a look if it's open.
And this is our fourth and final spot for today's video, the Port of Brisbane Shorebird Roost.
Well, of course it's closed, which is a bummer, but my own fault. I should have called. It's just started raining. I'm gonna wait it out and see if it passes because I'd love to capture some more of the birds. I've just spotted a double-barred finch.
I think this black-faced cuckoo shrike must be immature because its mask isn't filled in yet.
So I'm just waiting for a little bit to see if the rain passes and I can go back out again. If you're in the area birding, definitely call and definitely come here because this is the best bird hide in Brisbane. It is so great. There's always heaps of birds here. The bird hide itself is really comfortable. It's got great stools and windows, which is awesome, and a little table that you can put your camera on. It looks like the rain's passed, so I'm gonna hop back out there and see if I can, oh, some birds just flew in. I'm gonna hop back out there and see if I can capture any more birds because there's lots out there. So let's go have a look. The famous bird hide. Best in Brisbane. Out there is where all the birds are.
Again, there were so many birds on this island. You can see that there are both little pied cormorants and pied cormorants here. Some more royal spoonbills, a silver gull, Australian pelican. So many spoonbills.
Down at the end too, if you walk past the bird hide and then walk down the grassy bank on the left, there's another bird hide at the end, so you can see all the birds down the other end.
And even more chestnut teals. And one white-faced heron. This little guy really put on a show for me. He was just outside the bird hide, so I poked my camera through the gate and got these lovely shots.
Well, what an adventure of a morning. I am going to call it a day now. It's starting to get a little bit hot, but if you're in the area birding and you want to keep going, I highly recommend Sandy Camp Road Wetlands. That's just down the road, and that is an excellent spot for birding. My very first YouTube video was about Sandy Camp Road Wetlands. I will link it above. I think it's coffee time. I've been wanting to try a place called Bennett, and it's in Wynnum, so I figured while I'm here, why not give it a go? Goods acquired. I also got a coin aman. I'm gonna head home now. I had a great time. I hope you did too. See you next time.